It recently came to my attention that a much larger YouTube musician than me made a video with a very similar title and thumbnail and seemingly premise to one that I made last year. It was one of my more popular videos, so it's not beyond the realm of possibility that this person saw it and thought, well, it worked for this tiny channel, it must be a really good premise. This definitely piqued my curiosity. I had to watch the thing. And there were definitely common themes, but this really honestly didn't feel like blatant plagiarism to me. In fact, if anything, I think it just served to kind of reinforce the point of that original video that I made, and that's that there was no original video. There's nothing original at all, as a matter of fact. So what does that leave us as musicians, who are often kind of obsessed with sounding original? We see this all over the internet. People seemingly directly stealing ideas, and it starts to feel a bit different than stealing like an artist, which may be a phrase that you're familiar with from Austin Kleon's excellent book on the subject. Very recently, a lot of big YouTubers decided that they were quitting the platform. Then we saw one or two reaction videos to that subject, and then those got a lot of views, and then we saw 8,000 reaction videos to that subject. Now, this just may be me being a bit cynical, but I suspect that a lot of those were made because they saw that it was a popular topic and they wanted to jump on that particular trend. In my musical circles, I've seen a lot of artists who are doing one style of music and doing it well, and then see other styles of music that seem to be performing better on things like Spotify playlist placements. And then they create another moniker and they start making that kind of music to try to get on Spotify playlists. Why does this keep happening? I think we've all seen the effect that Mr. Beast has had on YouTube specifically and the internet in general, and now every thumbnail looks like it's made for a 14-year-old with an attention span of about 4.2 seconds. That may be a bit generous, actually. In that book that I referenced earlier, Kleon mentions Picasso's quote, where he says that all art is theft, that every new creation is a unique blend of the creator's influences. Nothing is truly original. That influence exists sometimes consciously and sometimes subconsciously. We don't even realize fully that it's happening. But why does what we see here on YouTube and here on Spotify feel not like that? It feels like something else, and it feels a little gross. Now, I know better, and a bit from experience, to get on the internet and try to define what art is. There's no point to it. It's subjective on two fronts, as a matter of fact. It's based on what the creator's intent was, which we can't know, and it's based on the listener or the viewer's interpretation, which we also can't know. But my composition teacher, who had a very direct way of conveying information and did not suffer fools lightly, was very blunt about the subject. He simply stated something that has stuck with me ever since. He said, "Art never panders." And in today's world, it's driven by marketing. Everything is marketing. Even this video is marketing to some degree. And there's nothing intrinsically wrong with marketing. It's how we tell people about stuff we've done. It's just that we're so used to it being used in kind of a disgusting, icky way.
If you click the link in the description, you can get this entire pack for 60% off.
In today's world, we're told that in order to be successful on these platforms, we have to give the platforms more of what they want. It's just another way of saying pander to the people. And this is how products work. Like, you need a product, there is a need. We need a vacuum that can propel itself and get stuck on the rug for 3 hours, and they create DJ Roomba to fill that need. It's not actually called DJ Roomba. I think that's from Parks and Recreation. And I actually thought that's what it was called.
Jerry! You stepped on DJ Roomba! Ah! I built it myself. He was like a son to me.
And I'm okay with that, actually. Leave it in. There's no one here. And even though we look at this as a new thing, it's really been around as long as people have been around. There's always been pressure on artists to give people what they want rather than maybe what that artist wants to do. Let's say you're a court musician back in the day, and you've been working really hard on your greatest magnum lute opus ever, but the king really likes that little ditty that he heard at the market. I'm not sure kings actually went to the market, but anyway, you play that little ditty that the king liked from the market because you like your head and you want it to remain in its current location. Go back just a few decades, and you have this album that you're really excited about. It's a little bit experimental, kind of pushes the boundaries just a little bit. And the record label, which pays your bills, and you might even be in debt to, says, nah, don't think we can do anything with this. It doesn't really sound like it would fit on the radio. Today, this just all feels kind of exponentially amplified, which is what the internet tends to do to everything. It takes all of the good things and it amplifies them. And it takes all of the not so good things and it amplifies those as well. So all of these problems have been really accelerated. I talked about in a previous video that all an algorithm is going to do is basically reward what has already worked. It's no different than the way major film studios work. It's why we get Marvel movies every couple of months. So even though there are way more people making way more interesting things, it's harder to find those people because it feels like we're being funneled down this sort of path of sameness. You pull that algorithmic lever and you get your cheese in the form of streams or views. And I don't think this sort of homogenized output for the sake of marketability is exactly what Picasso had in mind when he said that all art was theft. So what does it actually mean to steal like an artist? And how is that different than the modern form of trend chasing? As artists, we get, and I include myself in this, we get really hung up on trying to be original, whatever that means. We get so caught up in it that we often get nothing done at all. There's too much pressure behind that. It's like this burden that prevents us from moving in any direction. And if I'm still allowed to be nuanced on this platform, I think we should focus on being unique instead of being original, and they are not the same thing. One of my first assignments when I started studying composition was to take a Bach 3-part invention and change all the notes. I had no idea what the point of that was. I was young, inexperienced, ego was going strong, and I really wanted to write something original, something that would show off all of the skills that I thought I had. Then people would go, this guy's brilliant, look how original this is. We've never heard anything like it. This was all like inner monologue fantasy, by the way. So why on earth was Mr. Z having me waste my time in this way? He would often say, every piece has a model, and the model has things that will guide us in our way to finding our own voice. The model has stuff we can learn from, things that will help guide us along our way as we try to find what we have to say as artists. It shows us that putting a few limitations in place is not creatively restricting. In fact, it can focus our creativity. I talk about more examples and applications of these techniques in my free ebook. It's linked in the description down below if you'd like to read more about it. Zananelli called this exercise of seemingly copying the Bach inventions simulating. It's kind of the musical equivalent to what you might see painters doing in the Louvre or a famous museum, where they're seemingly copying a painting in order to understand a specific technique or set of techniques that that artist did really well. The point was not to copy Bach's work and then pass it off as my own. The point was to absorb some of Bach's techniques, choose my favorites that I could carry with me into my own work, and really fully understand why Bach was making the choices and decisions creatively that he was. If you steal from one person, that's plagiarism. If you steal from many, it's research. You may have heard before that we stand on the shoulders of giants, and that's absolutely true, and of course they stood on the shoulders of the artistic giants that came before them. Everything we do as artists is some variation or evolution of all of the art that's come before us and influenced us. Even if it's a direct reaction against a specific piece of art, that's still an influence. And our artistic voice is made up of the weird, unique combination of our very specific influences as artists. I love the angular dissonances and sarcasm of Prokofiev, the sound design sensibilities of Reznor and Ross, the polychordal harmonic shifts of Messiaen, the straightforward honesty of a great rock riff. I wouldn't call my voice original, but it is unique. It's uniquely weird to me, to my own personal combination of influences and the way I filter those influences through my own taste. What I like about old things is that old things are not trendy things, but they have already proven that they can withstand the test of time. Most trendy things won't survive this week. And this is why I think that YouTube and Spotify and all of these platforms have started to feel really empty and kind of lifeless, like there's not a lot of depth there in a lot of cases, because as creatives, we seem to be rewarded for jumping on the latest trends. Like, why is everyone quitting YouTube? We get easily distracted by all of the flashy things that are going on and being successful around us. So we chase the shiny object. We do it hastily because we know we don't have a lot of time to jump on that trend before that trend is over. And then we create something that has little to no chance of actually surviving any amount of time. It has no depth, no longevity, and that is why everything starts to feel so empty and lifeless. It's a cycle of distracted creators pandering to distracted audiences. Short attention spans creating an even shorter attention span. For me, shifting my perspective from trying to be original with everything to just embracing my own influences and trying to be as unique as I can has really taken a lot of the pressure of creating off of me. I tend to obsess about my own work, especially my own music. I put a lot of time and energy into it, and I want it to be as good as it can be. But I've actually learned over time that it's not really the work itself that's the most important thing. I actually don't even care if people steal it so much anymore. It still kind of bothers me, I'm human, but I know I can make more. And I think the ability to create is far more valuable than the creations you make themselves. Since I know that we're all kind of making variations on the same stuff, I'm a little less possessive with my own work than I used to be. Everything that I make now I view as practice. Everything that I make is a chance to improve my craft and my skill set. And that's really been one of the most valuable reframings of creativity that I've experienced in my own life and my own work. Don't forget to go out and practice your own craft today. Make some stuff. Thanks for sticking around to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.